Hey y'all, it's Jess. Have y'all watched Blink Twice? I know I'm late to the party because it came out like August 23rd of last year. It's loaded with messages, although it said fictional. Best believe they're talking and describing a life and a thing and the activity going on currently today and right now. I made a whole breakdown video and it was like 2 hours and like 40 or 50 minutes, which is too long. And I'm like, I posted it, but I'm like, no one's really watching it because first off, it's too lengthy and I could be long winded. So I'm going to break things down in short form right now. Let me just go right off of it because I know people did their own reviews, but honey, no one was catching the hidden messages, which was, I thought was obvious now. But anyways, so Blink Twice. Clearly, it's like a saying, if you need help and you're in a situation, blink twice and signal that you need help, right? So that the masses or whoever is in your proximity can like come together, create a plan to rescue you from your situation, okay? So when you see or watch the movie, so if you haven't watched the movie, go ahead and get out of this video and watch the movie. It's free on Amazon Prime. And yeah, when you see this movie, you'll notice that these ladies who are on this island, you know, with some elites, famous people, whatever, yeah, they need help. And right now, you know, they're not really able to blink twice on the island to be saved by anyone because they're in an excluded or secluded island or whatever. But perhaps on their way, you know, when they were like in the US or whatever, because they went to a foreign country or whatever. But maybe when they were in the US on their way to that island, perhaps someone could have seen the signs of what's going on and stopped them in their tracks to help those women. Okay. So this movie is centered around these women who are found in these predicaments and situations. So to first just dial it back to the beginning of the movie, Frida, the main character, is scrolling on her social media. Okay, she's scrolling, she's in the restroom, just scrolling, and pretty much that represents society's infatuation with living vicariously through celebrities, first and foremost, you know, people who are wealthy, people who are successful, or whatever the case may be. Just pretty much chasing an escapism when we are scrolling, okay? To live another life, because usually we are dissatisfied with our current life situation. Therefore, social media has been a hit for us. We like to escape, you know. But yeah, she was specifically looking at this guy named Slater King. There's like a news update of him being reformed due to him hosting crazy celebrity parties, drugging and R-ing people. Yeah, that's pretty much what he's saying. Sorry, public, you know, I'm reformed. I now go to therapy. I'm no longer on drugs and I don't host these type of parties anymore, kind of thing. That's what he's trying to convey. And, you know, it strikes Frida's interest. You can tell by her apartment and that she has a roommate. She lives with a roommate. You can tell that she is not that well off, probably living to paycheck like the rest of society, the majority of society. And they clearly have a want to live a desirable life, a life that is comfortable. Okay. You're not living paycheck to paycheck. You're actually doing something that you want to do, whether it's creative or being an entrepreneur or whatever. Regardless, all aspects of life requires humans to be able to create. And of course, we like to be owners of what we create, right? And have that liberty to do what we want to do and not have to work crazy amounts of hours at a job that we don't want to be at. So anyways, their job, her and her friend work at a restaurant. It seems like during regular hours, but then it seems like they also do after hour things, which they kind of look like they were into some type of escort kind of business kind of thing. But I'm not sure if they were an escort as in just being arm candy or were they just prostituting. I'm not sure, but you could tell that they don't want to be in that line of work. and they're just hoping to meet a rich person to see them and say, look at me, and date them and be showered with gifts and whatever. So basically, when Frida and her friend was, dressed up, you know, I'm not sure if they were actively serving at that moment. I forgot that part. But yeah, they're just trying to look appealing. They're walking in their high heels, trying to look regular, because I don't know if they're used to walking in high heels or whatever, but just looking to be seen, looking to be heard. So what that represents is that when majority or people in general are dissatisfied with their life, they're not making ends meet, clearly they're struggling financially, they are so much so wanting to experience the opposite of what they're currently in, right? They want to acquire wealth. And it becomes so much of a want that you become obsessed with it and willing to possess that lifestyle by any means necessary. It makes you desperate. That's pretty much what it means. So that's being shown deep down in Frida and her friend, and probably all of the other girls there. There's a level of desperation that you have, which will lead you vulnerable into an experience. When I say that is when you're desperate, it's a spiritual thing and a physical thing. You can spiritually sense when someone's desperate without them even saying words to you. I'm not sure if that's things that everyone can pick up on, but I can pick up on it. It's like a body language. You can tell. And then, of course, when they start speaking or whatever, let's say at work or whatever, you can tell somebody who wants to get a position, but they don't have a position. And there's certain words that they will say that you can tell that, they really wanted that position, but they didn't get it. Or they really, they're saying one thing, but their being is saying another thing, if that makes sense. But anyways, in this situation, if you're desperate for money, you're desperate to have a come up, there are people who are already in that position. They'll spot you. They'll be able to detect that from you. And if they are a predator, you're going to be a target. Okay, I hope people understand where this is headed. So it's not me victim blaming or whatever, but it's for us to really understand how this life works and not how we want it to work. It's just what actually happens and why there are victims, right? Because now when you're in a state coming from a low background, or not low background, but a, paycheck to paycheck or whatever, you would like to live in your own house and be able to afford things and take vacations or whatever, that is on a lot of people's faces. And you're going to be met by people who are either here to help you and help you start your business and do whatever and support you, and friends, and it could be a business, whatever it is. Or there are people who will take advantage of you because they see that all over you. Especially with these ladies in this movie doing escort, that's already a seductive occupation. And, it leads to more salacious things happening once it crosses that realm. So basically she spots Slater. So Frida spots Slater. Slater sees her. I think she trips, which all eyes is on her. But Slater helps her up, and he makes that connection. So he's seducing her with his eyes. She might think, he's flattering me, or like he sees something in me. He might want me or something like that. But, don't be naive, but usually if you're desperate and you're so much wanting someone to see you or whatever, that's what you're wanting and longing, you will not simply see things for what it is. Like, this guy can pretty much do this with anyone. So, I know people want to be and feel special in moments, but, you might just be, what's the word? The person might just be trying to attract you and draw you in, but he or her does that with other people. Okay. Yeah. It's not a special moment, but anyways, that attracts her, and he starts talking to her, talking about how he's reformed, how he goes to therapy. And I know a lot of us ladies will be like, oh, when men say that they, talk about their feelings and they go to therapy, that, brings down that wall for us. And we're like, oh, kind of thing. So she's kind of doing that and, kind of being naive and, oh, wow, he's such a down to earth person or whatever. And then he leaves and he comes back and invites them to go on the island. And they're looking at each other. There's our big break. He's reformed. He's not that crazy guy. Although she has an idea of who he used to be, which again, we have to hold someone to their past. But, you have to see the signs. You have to know someone long enough and care to know them long enough to kind of see the patterns of their behavior to make sure you're in a safe place, that you can assess the situation to befriend someone or not, or to take a job or not, by the environment. Are you able to sense the environment, or are you so desperate to jump into a thing just for money and just live a life that you so desperately want to experience? So guess what? They hopped on the plane. They went to the island. And yeah, what seemed to be in that island, being a bliss, to be free, to not have to clock in and think about your 9 to 5. I don't think it was even told to them how long they'll be staying on the island, but they didn't care. They threw caution to the wind. And when they get to the island, they already have clothes picked out for them. They all have their own rooms. Some of the items that was in the rooms that clearly seems to be used and inhabited by other people. She looked at the red lipstick. It already had someone's hair and something stuck in there, so you could tell that people are using the same stuff. It seems like. Frida, what's her name? Not her name, but this custodian, foreign, they're not foreign to, that land, but foreign to her, speak a different language or whatever, custodial house, I don't want to say maid, but they clean the house and stuff like that. The lady is there and she has this serpent tattoo, and the guy as well, who's an indigenous or whatever, they represent indigenous and stuff. It's not so much so their actual whatever country they flew into or whatever, and the serpent, what that represents is ancient spirituality, paganism. That's what those people represent. Those custodial people in this movie represent paganism, ancient spirituality, after the fall of mankind, when sin came into the world, when sin was being able to be perceived by mankind. That's what that serpent, that knowledge, that way of life that's being proposed after the fall of mankind. So I believe it's a theory of mine. Paganism was birthed and became a thing and influenced in humans' knowledge once Adam and Eve was ejected out of the Garden of Eden due to their sin. They were separated from God, and that's when the birthing of all doctrines and spirituality and religion, pretty much a belief, spirituality, was birthed from in that instance. So that's what those people represented there, and you can see the reference of that kind of spirituality people could call it New Ageism right now, or the ways of the old. But when they talk about the moon, so pretty much that's hinting at astrology and other things. There's another word they used or whatever. That's the hint behind what's going on. That is clearly something that the elites are attuned with, or follow, or obey, or worship, indulge in a ritualistic activities, which is inspired by or influenced by paganism. That's what that represents, because we'll get into that. But to fast forward into the main things that's going on in the beginning, life on this villa at this foreign country. I forgot the name of it. I don't think they said where they were. Seems blissful and fun just to wake up, wear clothes that is already set out for you, and they're wearing white. They're all wearing the same outfit. So that represents conformity. We are willing to conform to the activities here at this villa. Not knowing what we signed up for, but we're down for the ride because it seems to be fun. Because that's what's being proposed. Okay? Just like in the Garden of Eden, what was proposed by Satan. Oh, you just know knowledge. You just know the things of God. You just be like God. You just be in bliss. You're just, things will be good. It's good to know things. It's good to indulge in whatever this is. It seems fun. It seems great. Eve, when she ate the fruit, she said it was pleasing, and there's a certain word, pleasing or good to eat, like pleasing or pleasure to eat. There's a certain word that was used, but yeah. And, so that's what they're thinking. They're running around, you don't really see the drug use and things, until later. That gets unveiled later, but that's pretty much what's going on. The activity is going on, and Frida so much wants to be seen by Slater. Clearly, she's looking over here. First sees Slater entertaining this one girl who went on survival shows or whatever. She went on survival shows, and what she represented was somebody who is used to this lifestyle. She was all about being in the limelight, knowing the who's, and just being here. Although it may have some darkness, as you can see, she's acquainted with it, and she has accepted it, and, she knows her way around. So, that's what she represented, and she just wanted the attention of Slater as well. She still wants that attention, and feel like, due to her being familiar with this place, she didn't really know him particularly, although it came off as if she knew these people. She didn't, which was revealed in the movie. However, she still wants that attention, though. Something in her, even before coming to this life, wants to be seen and wants to acquire this level of life that is successful and, whatever. So, however, Frida, Slater is trying to Frida, or is going towards Frida because she gives off this naive or newness to her, someone who's not jaded or whatever, or knows her way around, it seems like. So yeah, there's a scene to where she was like, they're all in their bliss, this drinking or whatever, and he said, "Oh, you're having a great time?" She said, "Yeah, but I don't know, it just seems like something's gonna go wrong." Those are her exact words, but it's like a roundabout. So pretty much she's seeming like, this seems too good to be true. In that moment, that's discernment. I believe that's discernment. She's like, I don't know. Looking around, okay. I don't know how long we're going to be on this island. How long is it? What day is it? For me not to keep track of the days, and we're just in this bliss, and we're taking pictures. Everyone's like, they're doing something, and they're like, smile, and like, it's very for the camera. It's very Instagram worthy, but what are we really doing here? In that moment, that was her discernment. She has not even witnessed nothing to be saying this, but guess what? We humans are spiritual beings, and we can sense spirits. We can sense the intentions of people without even saying it. But what we end up doing oftentimes is we doubt ourselves. We doubt ourselves, and we get lost into seeing, well, the majority of the people don't see anything wrong with this, and it seems like bliss, so why would I be a party pooper and leave by my own intuition and just, to say, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna go back to the US. Like, it was fun going on this villa and staying here for a little bit, but I had enough, let me go. She's like, no. She ignored it because he asked another question. Are you having fun? I think he did something like that. And then she's like, oh yeah. And then goes back into the same routine. So now in the routine, at nighttime, they're seen running all the time. They're wearing white, and they're running and whatever. And we don't really know what's going on until later. However, you see a lot of drinking, and now drug use is being introduced, and that's clearly what's going on behind these parties, although that's what he claimed he's not indulging in because he has the vape pen. But trust and believe, in those drinks, there's a lot of alcohol and even more things in it. What do you call it? It's laced. Okay, they're indulging with food or whatever. They have men who are there and ladies who are there. But the men, they're clearly abusing the ladies. That's what's happening. Fast forward, that's what's happening. Okay, these ladies are being assaulted on this camp, or not camp, but this villa. However, they're being drugged to the point of not remembering. Okay, that's what's happening. Also, things that you can see is there's I think red perfume bottle of some sort, or fragrance or whatever, that turns out to be blood. Okay, so that will show some type of sacrifice that was done okay? Some type of ritual or whatever, but you got someone's blood, okay, in a bottle. And I'll get into that later, how that comes to be, or how they find out. But what else? I think before, even when they landed to this island as well, their phones were taken up as well. Does that ring a bell to what we've been hearing in the mainstream with some pending court cases having to do with the people of the music industry and entertainment? Yeah. The messages. Yeah. What else? What else? Yeah, so yeah, pretty much to come to the knowledge of that the ladies are actually being assaulted on this villa or whatever, and actually being chased during those times where you're seeing them this gallivant or whatever. Before that start happening, that's what's happening afterwards. That comes to be when Frida drinks the elixir. She drinks the venom of the snake for whatever reason. It's in a bottle, probably mixed with alcohol as well. But one of the I can say ancient, they represent ancient spirituality, but the custodians, or what the lady custodian, she peeps into her room and smiles and says something that the lady doesn't understand. And Frida doesn't understand her, but she's like, "Oh, you want to drink?" Motion like, "Hey, you want to drink this?" She drinks it, and I see it as an elixir, or knowledge, just like the Garden of Eden opens up your mind to knowledge, to now be able to perceive the evil going on. Okay, she has a serpent thing. The serpent represents wisdom, right? So you're gonna have the wisdom though to perceive the evil that's going on. So when she drinks it, she then spots the blood thing that is on the garments. Okay, the garment has blood on it. So at that time, that does represent her friend who does get slaughtered. She's not seen in the villa because she after drinking the elixir, she's like, "Oh wow," she knows her friend is gone because the friend does get bit. So that's another thing. I'm just fast forwarding. Her friend does get bit by a snake when they're gallivanting in the forest. And the friend actually wants to leave, but then now Frida doesn't want to leave. Or not now, she doesn't want to leave, but she doesn't want to leave because she's having so much fun with Slater and finally being seen and recognized. And then the friend suppresses her emotions. They stay, but now she disappears and she's gone. So, yeah. Now, more of her memory is coming to mind of what's actually going down in the villa. And she's like shocked, she's scared, but she's trying to keep her composure so that Slater does not notice that she knows what's going on. Because if she knows, they'll kill you, right? Because if you know, clearly your awareness, you're going to tell other people, "Hey, this is happening." And it's going to turn into a frenzy and turn into, "Oh yeah, we need to fight these people. We need to come against these people, this evil that's being done," right? So yeah, all the drug use that's going on, is suppressing these ladies of their memory. The drugging, of course, is suppressing these ladies of this memory. However, what I would like to say in the memory suppression is called repressed memory. That's another thing that you'll begin to see in actual cases of people who go through satanic ritual abuse. That's actually a thing. If you guys look it up, it's a thing. And in this movie is being alluded to a thing that a lot of these elites partake in. They cover it up and they don't seem as evil, or that indulge in the satanic paganistic spirituality is due to their philanthropic work. So doing philanthropy events and whatever, trips, mission trips or whatever, that's what's being put to the forefront, associated by so-and-so celebrity or elite or whatever. But what's going on in the background is a bunch of debauchery. Does that ring a bell? What we're hearing in the news, does that ring a bell? It's an actual thing. It actually happens. But of course, there's different organizations and different people trying to dispel those things and make it seem like a fictitious occurrence, but it's not. It's actually real. And this movie is actually hinting at that. And what else? Yeah, you when you later see what's happening when all of the ladies finally get their memory back. Um, yeah, one girl was strapped onto this thing, looking like she was about to be sacrificed, but she didn't become sacrificed or whatever. But it's very ritualistic, and it gets dark, but it's very ritualistic. Not only that, at the dining table when they were eating or whatever, one of the guys who are one of the people who are actually assaulting them, he has something on his forehead. It's pretty much the male genitals on his forehead. What that represents is actually a spirit or deity associated with Freemasonry or the occult, occulted secret societies. Okay, and it's perverted. It's perversion. People think when they, I used to be, well, not I used to be, in college, I did a course in art history for 2 years, or for 2 semesters, and you would see in the sculptures or whatever, of course, it would see the male genitals, on some, and they would say, oh yeah, just to represent the male anatomy or whatever. Okay, but if you do research on those things and the different cultures, that practice paganism, their ancestral, earthly, absent of the one and only God, creator of this universe. Yeah, that is a worship of that deity of the male genitals. It's called phallus. Look it up, y'all. I'm not making nothing up. And it is associated and attributed to a lot of the occult, secret societies, Freemasonry, and fraternity and sororities. Look it up, guys. I'm telling no lies. So that's spiritual. That's very spiritual. You're doing and saying seances, creeds that is backed up but by certain deities. So that's not the only deity. It's not only the phallus. There's other deities, but that is one of them. And I do believe, this is my hunch and my theory, it's linked to a lot of the things we're hearing about the elites or whatever in these industries doing all these sexual orgies and things. I believe that's the spirit behind a lot of these activities that humans are being influenced. Those who are indulging in all of this stuff, they're being influenced to do these things. Pretty much the things that is being described in Galatians chapter 5, verse 19 through 21. Look it up, y'all. Don't just simply chuck things up to conspiracy, because when we throw around the words conspiracy, we're actually using it out of context. Conspiracy means what it means. There are certain people indulging, which is the minority, indulging in certain things. And usually these people are actually in higher places, but this happens in all levels, right? This happens in all statuses. But what this movie is depicting is clearly with people who are of a place of power, as we see in the news, right? What's coming out, the Epstein cases, the Diddy cases, all right? They're doing crazy things and ritualistic things that is paganistic, represents all these things. It's a perversion. Hello? They take people out on islands. They do a lot of parties where there's a lot of indulgences of just very, addictive and just not debauchery. It's just debauchery, really. And that's what the movie is pretty much saying, y'all. And if you go further, what happens is with Slater. So, Slater and the guys left the villa. They came back to the villa. So during that time when they were off the villa, she was looking for their phones, to get their phones and call the authorities and do something to break up what's going on in the villa, to get help. However, she found a stash of pictures of all the debauchery that's going on. That helps even put things to her memory of, oh wow, this is what's actually going on when we were being drugged or whatever. And it's capturing all these moments. Does that ring a bell too? Videotapes, blackmail. Although people are videotaping things and taking pictures for their own pleasure, their sick pleasure, but it's not only that. Clearly, it's being used as a tactic for blackmail. So let's say if you choose to leave this organization or this cult, you'll be exposed. Because guess what? There's pictures and videos and recordings of you indulging in all this stuff that is clearly heinous and wicked. Okay? Consequences, cling, or like handcuffs, imprisonment. Okay? Like, you're going to be fired at whatever position, CEO, whatever, your money's going to be taken away from you. Like, debauchery, hello. If it's known by the forefront, it will get shut down, or it should be shut down. But that's another topic. But yeah, blackmail. Spiritually, if you read the Bible, who's the king of blackmail? Satan and demons, right? They get you to obey and do certain things that God deemed a sin. So just doing things, thinking away, and doing things in behavior and in lifestyle that is opposite of what God intended humans to be doing to begin with. That's what's called sin. And when you do those things, it's being recorded by monitoring spirits, demons, waiting for opportunities, that's looking to use it against you. It gets used against you. You bear the consequences of indulging in that, first off. And you can repent of those things, and God will forgive you of your sin, of course. But it gets used against you, right? Because you could sin, you could be reformed and change out of this debauchery or whatever. But let's say someone brings it back up, you're passed up, it holds consequences. You'll lose that job or that place of leadership, and you will lose friends and XYZ. People really know the deep, dark secrets of the things that you've been doing that God deems, spiritually a sin. But, in the context of this movie, which I don't know if it was Zoe Kravitz's plan to be making things spiritual or whatever, but hey, that's what I was getting from that movie. So, yeah. So, to speed things up, for, the underlying thing of this whole occurrence. With Slater King, he comes back to the villa. He finally catches the girl. First off, everyone, the ladies get their memory back, and they're fighting. They're fighting. They're standing for themselves. They're coming together and fighting for themselves. But of course, 2 of them get killed. So I'm like, oh gosh. So just the survivor girl, which I forgot her name, and Frida is standing. And I believe Frida gets roped up and tied up. And Slater is this, doing this whole spiel of, I can't be forgiven, unforgiveness, because now you know what I did, the drugging has worn off. Now you have your memory. So what you want to do, kind of thing. And he's just like, oh, sorry. He's having his mental break. So that crazy mental break that he's having. And then in that moment, he looks checked out. It's like, it's demonic oppression or possession. You could tell. Demonic influence, possession. In that moment, he's literally checked out, and he's just like, sorry, looking all crazy. That's what I believe that scene was supposed to show. And then to show that he was snapped out of it was when he did smoke his vape pen, and Frida did put the elixir in there so his memory could come back. And he was like, oh, what happened? Why is this person laying right here? Why is this girl dead right here? The person that, he killed. It shows you that he's in his true self now. He's not demonically possessed right now. The thing that is having him do all these things, what came to mind was actually the Bible verse, Romans 7, when Paul is saying pretty much saying the human's plight, when in sin and in this corrupted body vehicle, he does the things that he hates. He's doing things that he don't consider to be himself. Actually, it's not him. It's the sin. It's this spirit tied to this way of life that is, sinful. So in that moment, it just struck to me like, oh wow, he's like, not to take the accountability away, but you're in your false self, false identity, if you're adhering to a spirit that is the opposite of God's spirit. If you're separated from God, you don't know God, and you're just doing things, going with the flow, in a different religion that is into, inspired by paganism, this a spirituality opposite and from God, is called demonic, or categorized being demonic. And you're just in your false self. You're not in your true self. You don't even know your true self. You're doing things that is not your true self. You're doing things that are sinful. You're doing things that is leading to the acts of the flesh, which is described in Galatians 5, verse 19 through 21. Just look it up. All those indulgences. So in this moment, clearly his own is taken to the top because, sin has no boundaries. There's different spectrums. There's low level sin, just stealing a dollar from someone's wallet. And there's heinous sin like Jeffrey Epstein and all that sex rings and human trafficking. Okay? That's the obvious evil and sin. That clearly harms. Sin harms a person. There's different level of harms that some harm you don't see as harm. You say, oh, it's pleasurable, it's whatever. But there's great one that is so obvious. Okay, so anyways, that is what Slater is indulging in, clearly. And what is revealed here is because something happened to him when he's younger. Him and his sister, which I believe is that assistant lady who does get her memory back, but Frida kills her because the lady wanted to kill her, actually, because she didn't want to remember what was done to her. And she was a victim, but became an enabler to now fly other women to this villa for this debauchery to be done to them. You see what's being talked about, what we can learn from what's being talked about in this movie? Slater, being young, him and his sisters, I think the babysitter or something like that, assaulted them. And it clearly warps a child's mind when they experience such trauma like that. If they're not receiving therapy to be healed, it distorts their moral compass. It distorts and perverts their perception of themselves and life itself. And, it leaves them broken, confused, to be led to abuse drugs to cope, chase escapism and other voids, relationships that, does nothing for them, but just destroys them. It often turns victims into perpetrators too. They end up doing and repeating the things that has been done to them because they did not get the help that they needed. That's what's being described in this movie. Slater King is doing things that was done in this network of this elitism. Who knows if they're rich? It sounds like they were, they grew up in this. They were groomed into this. Their trauma bred this. And of course, there's accountability for all that we do. There's a consequence to all that we do. It's both spiritually and physically. If we don't get God physically, honey, it's happening spiritually. Point blank in a period. Because we have a just God. And best believe, punishments are being served, right? But what Slater is saying, to go back to the unforgiveness part, that is a lie. You can be forgiven of your sin. I know human beings cannot comprehend it, and there's certain sins that it is unforgivable, because we can't handle that. But according to God, you can be forgiven of your sin, no matter the level. All you need to do is repent and accept Him. Turn away from that way. So to repent is to turn away from that way of life. Turn away from that false identity that has you fulfilling a false destiny, an evil, corrupted, destructive destiny that not only harms yourself, but harms others who meets you and around you in your proximity. It destroys what you touch. But yeah, you can be forgiven. And it's actually Satan who makes you feel shameful and stay stuck in the shame of the sin that you committed, to keep you down, to keep you even suicidal, to off yourself, being unrepentant, to end up going into eternity permanently separated from God, which is clearly in the realm of hell. Literally, I can preach on this, y'all. This is biblical. The lifestyle that Slater King is living in this movie and was being described, and that all these elites of people, and it's not only the elites clearly who's indulging in sin, it's all levels, right? But I'm just saying what's being described, it was clearly going on in our society right now. If someone were to be reformed and want to turn away from this lifestyle and repent from it and let people know, let the victim know, hey, I'm sorry, like lock me up or whatever, I'm willing to pay the price of my sins, but I'm gonna turn away from this. I'm gonna be reformed. I'm gonna go get the therapy. I'm gonna go get the help. This is what has been done. This is what has been done to me at a younger age. But I don't want to stay down. I don't want to stay doing this debauchery or whatever. What Satan will say and whisper to you, and that feeling you will get spiritually, is like, oh, you can't be forgiven. You're not loved by God. God hates you. God wants nothing to do with you. He can't fix you. That's a lie. And guess what? Frida, her memory comes back to where she done been at this villa before. She been on this rodeo before. But what is shown due to her core beliefs and what she's chasing and the desperation that she has innately that has attracted her and also made her a target in the spirit for this lifestyle and to be a victim, right? She has lived in this cycle before. She's stuck in a cycle. And guess what? In this movie, which I believe, because it left it on a cliffhanger, so you can't really tell what side she's on, but I think I can see what side she's on. She breaks the cycle because she did not even kill Slater King, which I thought she was going to do. I'm like, okay, justice. But no, for him to live and be able to have a chance to be reformed and shut down this damn villa, which they did, and they set it aflame and ablaze. And you can actually see that those custodian people or whatever, the ancient people or the foreign people, they're not foreign to that land, but you know what I'm saying. Those people, she's laughing, ha ha ha, whatever, which represents Satan laughing at the destruction, because that's all he wants. He wants things to be destroyed. He wants foundations to be destroyed or whatever. And actually, those custodians represent monitoring spirits as well, because they're always lurking in the forest and lurking, peeping and seeing what they're doing, eavesdropping and, carrying out the task. I believe, they helped with the murder and whatever that was going on in the villa. But anyways, she saves Slater King. She doesn't kill him. And she ends up showing up at their event, that philanthropic event or whatever. She ends up being one of the people sitting at the tables, and Slater King is working for her. So basically, that elite person who was there in the beginning, who was inquiring of, hey, when is that, shindig at the villas happening again? I want to be invited out again, to do the same crap they're doing. I think Slater King was saying, oh, you need to talk to her. And then Frida turns around and he's like, oh. And then she's like, oh, I know you. Hi, kind of thing. And the guy's shocked and he's like, oh, shoot, she's not supposed to have a memory. What the heck is going on? I'm like, oh, wow, is this a setup? And he's backing up. And then he's like, and I think Frida ushers in what seems to be security. So I guess that represents the law enforcement, CIA or FBI or whatever, to come and imprison this guy who's in violation, right? So I think then the movie ends, she's drinking her thing, like, okay, I'm running this. I'm now an informant in the midst of this operation, this network, and I'm about to blow it up from the inside out. That's what it looks like. So I really like this movie. I give it a 9 out of 10. I feel like this movie was loaded with messages, was loaded with things that society needs to not treat as a taboo and actually have these discussions and have our eyes open to see these things happening, to actually question our own, not beliefs, but, in the wants of acquiring wealth or living that life, chasing the bag, acquiring success. By what means? Are we going to be susceptible and vulnerable to be taken as, to be preyed upon, because it's spiritual, guys. If you're desperate, it can be seen. It's seen spiritually. It's sensed spiritually. And unfortunately, you can be targeted. It leaves you open for that. But now, if you, are desperate or really just need a come up or whatever, you can still just having wisdom and just know, oh yeah, I'm not going to take that plane ride. Oh, I'm not going to do business with this person. I need to actually get to know you first, right? I need to first, being adults, I need to actually get to know you first. Or, okay, you're going to go to an island to do what? You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to hear the terms of things and have discernment to do a thing or to not do a thing. To see and hear and feel and sense the intent behind a person. It's for self-preservation, right? And then now, let's say we don't all got it, and things leads us many ways. If we are a friend to a person, or we just notice a stranger and that person is kind of describing things that we're like, what's going on? If you have wisdom and you have discernment and it's working, you're gonna be saying, hey, girl, I advise you not to do this. Or guy, it could be this goes for guys too. I advise you not to do this and take that business deal, or do this, or meet with that person, or do, because it's going to lead to some destruction. This life is not peachy keen, guys. It's not all in your favor. It's not for, everyone's not operating in your interest. It's time for us to wise up and see things that are evil and speak about it. If there's any victims of the things being described in this movie, or just like, in real life, we see it in the news all the time, we need to hear it, clearly have discernment, but support these victims that are going to come out, with what's going on in the news. Hello. It's so timely to actually support the victims when we hear the things that may seem weird, especially SRA victims, so satanic ritual abuse. That's something up and coming that I've been seeing on my feed, actually, that is real. It is spiritual. It is heinous. It is secret. And it's taboo. And people will not believe the things being described. But it's very important that we get educated. If you know God, I know God, I have a discerning of spirits. I could tell if someone's lying or not, for the most part. And, I'll clearly use wisdom. But, when I hear a lot of these testimonies and things, it's pretty rough, y'all. It's just real experiences. It's not made up. It's not fictitious. So, this movie is very informative. And, a 9 out of 10. Zoe Kravitz did a excellent job. And I hope that can really help shape society in this being vigilant. Support what is right. Have morale. And band together and shut down all things evil. Yep. By the power of God. So, that's my movie review / breakdown of the themes that I noticed in the movie. So, if you like more content like this, stay tuned to my TikTok, because I'm uploading this on TikTok, really. Bye.